Now that we've got our handle fully assembled, we've got our spine marked on the blank, everything's good to go, our handle epoxy is set up, we're ready to go ahead and put on our guides and start wrapping. When you're ready to go ahead and wrap your guides, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and get a guide spacing chart and find out your spacing and sizing recommendations for that particular blank or size of blank. We've got those online on the website. Fuji does as well. What I recommend to do is go ahead and use a guide chart as just that, a guide, to go ahead and line up your guides, space them out with the correct sizing, which is what we're going to do here. Go ahead and tape them on our blank, and then we're going to go ahead and static deflect our blank, put a good bend in it, and make sure our line makes a nice smooth arc following the curvature of the blank, making sure we don't have any angles and nothing that's going to decrease our casting distance or sensitivity. So I've got that chart right here. I've got a 7-foot spinning rod. It tells me right here what sizes I need, what size guides, and the spacing in between them, starting from the tip down. So I'm just going to take my China marker and my ruler and go ahead and start marking my spacing. What I've done is I'm going to go ahead and put my reel seat facing up. That's the side of the blank that my guides are going to go on. That way when I tape my guides on, they're already lined up. All right, I've gone ahead and done this, but I'm going to go ahead and explain it again. Our first guide is going to go 11.5 centimeters from the tip. So 11.5, mark with my China marker. Your second guide is going to be 12 centimeters. I marked that with my China marker. Our third, again, just follow the chart on down, mark all your guides. Here we have a 7-foot blank. It's a spinning rod. I'm going to do the Fuji Concept System. What the Concept System does is it takes your guide spacing, it brings it down tight pretty quick, meaning we're going to start out with a size 30 on this 7-foot spinning rod and work our way down to a size, or rather jump right down to a size 16. You can tell there's a pretty big difference in these sizes in the height as well as the diameter. What that's going to do is bring that line down really quick down to the blank. And once it gets down to the blank, we're going to shoot the line out straight with a series of small guides. What that's going to do is take that big cone coming off that spinning rod, choke it down real quick to the blank, and it come out straight. And that's going to reduce the amount of friction between the line and the guides. It's going to increase our sensitivity because we were using smaller guides, which means we have less material between our blank and our line. So that line is going to be in direct contact with the guide, which is ultimately, your guide is what transfers your sensitivity to your blank. So the less distance you have between that line and your blank, the better. It's going to shoot that vibration down the guide, down the blank, and into your hand. Another thing with the Fuji Concept System is, because your guides are smaller, your rods are going to be lighter. You don't have, we're eliminating a size 20 or a size 25, and we're using more smaller guides and less large guides. Therefore, we're building a lighter, more sensitive rod. All right, now we've got them spaced. I'm going to go ahead and tape my guides on. Just take some masking tape, line it up. And what I like to do is go ahead and cover up the mark that we made with our China marker. Go from a size 30 to a size 16. All the way down, we'll tape them down. And actually what I'll do here is I'll go ahead and switch to 1/4-inch masking tape, knowing that these guides are going to be smaller. And I'll go ahead and just put a piece of tape by each mark and come back and put that guide on. One way to put your tip on is to use some tip glue. We're going to heat it up, smear it on the tip of our blank. Go ahead and take our tip and smear it on, or press it on. Now, tips are measured with two sizings, or two measurements. You have the measurement of the ring and the measurement of the tube. The ring, just like every ring on a guide, is measured in millimeters. This here is an 8 ring and then a 6 tube. So we have 8 millimeter ring and then 6 64ths of an inch for the size of the tube. So that'll be called an 8/6. Again, this is all just, it's in the charts. Every blank you purchase will tell you what size tip you need, or call us, we'll be able to tell you. Or you can always mic your tip if you have the blank ahead of time and find out what size it is. I always use my alcohol burner rather than waste a lighter. Alcohol is cheap and it burns clean, so we don't get soot anywhere. I'll just heat the tip up a little bit of that tip cement and go ahead and wipe it on the blank. Make sure we get it all the way around. Don't worry about putting too much on there, you won't hurt it. Then I'll take my tip and go ahead and just lightly heat the tube. And just press it on like so. And just like that, give it a little spin. Line it up with our guides and our reel seat. Doesn't have to be exact at this point. We're going to go and we'll come back once we have everything lined up. And we can heat it and spin it at any point. That'll take literally, it's already starting to set up. We just go ahead and peel that excess off. And that tip's on there for good. All right, after we've got our guides placed on the rod, like I said, we want to tape them all on, tape them good and tight. We go ahead and put our reel on because we built our handle first. That's one of the nice things about it. The handle is there in place. Go ahead and put the reel that you plan on using with the rod on it. The difference is going to be in the diameter of the spool and the angle and the size in which the cones are going to come off. The line's going to come off in a conical shape as it comes down into this first guide. It's going to make a big difference as to the placement of your first guide and your second guide, actually, all the way up. But once we have them in place, we'll run some thread. In this case, I use orange thread to make it easier to see for myself and for you on the DVD or on the film. And I'm just going to put a good flex in the rod as if we were fishing it. That's a huge benefit of having a deflection tool or a spine finder. I just mount mine on my rod wrapper here and just go ahead and flex it. And what I'm looking for are angles in my line. What that's going to tell me is those are spots where I may have additional friction, or spots that may go ahead and they may kill my casting distance, or they may create friction when I'm fighting a big fish. Any strong angle you want to eliminate by moving around your guides or maybe adding or subtracting a guide. Now, because this is a 7-foot rod with 8-foot guides, you can tell I've got a pretty smooth curvature here. I mean, sure, there's going to be slight angles, but you're going to have slight angles unless you put a million guides on your rod. What you want to make sure is that no angles are sharper than the others. And this one here looks pretty good. What that's going to do is allow my guide, when I cast it, to shoot through. Like I said, we're doing a Fuji Concept system. You can see my line here is almost straight. I mean, dead center in this guide right here, which is perfect. So when this line is coming off the spool, it's not pushing to one side of the guide or the other. It's going to be nice and evenly dispersed around the inside of that guide. It should come down to the next size, all the way down. And then about here, especially here, it's going to shoot us a straight line. Because we're done bringing the guide or the line down to the blank, and it's going to shoot straight out. It's going to be tapered and tamed by this guide, definitely by this guide, as opposed to if we had large guides and just went one step down at a time. You have a cone now getting tapered through the entire blank, and you're going to have friction in every one of your guides